Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. I'm the Book Geek, also known as Kiava, and today I'm going to bring you July, August, and September book releases. Hey guys, Editing Kiki here. I know this video is way past due, but I have a bunch of backlogged videos that I had already recorded, and some of which I had already started editing, so I do want to still put those videos out, but feel free to go ahead and watch it anyways, and I hope you enjoy. I'm not going to get into too much detail about some of these books. Some of these books I don't know what they are fully about, but they sounded interesting. Some of these books I probably don't know what they're about at all, but the cover was gorgeous. And some of these books I do know about, but I just cannot go into full detail about them because that would make this video very long. Okay, so first we're going to talk about all of the July book releases. Now these aren't all the books that released in July. These are just the ones that I found interesting. First up is Cinderella Is Dead by Kaylin Barron. I'm going to be reading off my phone for some of these, for parts of this. This is a young adult fantasy with LGBT representation. It is a Cinderella retelling. So this book sounds amazing, and the cover, oh my god, the cover is gorgeous. I'm not tired of hearing me say the cover is gorgeous. I mean, I'm a sucker for a gorgeous cover, clearly, but I mean, it makes a difference. People want pretty books on their shelves, even though the words is what counts. Beautiful cover won't hurt. But anyway, the girl in the cover, black and gorgeous. Okay. So it's been 200 years since the original Cinderella found her prince and fell in love. And so now the ladies in the land are to appear at court, at the ball, what have you. They have to go here to find a suitable match. But Sophia isn't interested in that. She would much rather be with her childhood best friend named Erin, who is a girl. And so I guess she decides to run away, and her adventures take off from there. She's going to meet some descendants of Cinderella, and together they are going to try to take down the king. Get rid of these silly rules that he's put into place. And I am here for it. The next book on the list is The Shadows. This is a thriller horror mystery. This author also wrote The Whisper Man. Alex North is the author, by the way. So our character, Paul Adams, is haunted by a terrible crime, murders that took place when he was a child in his hometown. And now he's returned to his hometown to take care of his aging mother. And now he is hearing the news of a copycat killer that has struck this town. Strange things are starting to go on, and that's all I want to know. This one, The Shadows, and The Whisper Man are two books that are high up there for me. Probably won't get to them until early next year, but yeah, definitely check this one out if you can. The next book on the list is Girl, Serpentthorne. This one is sort of like a fairy tale, and I love fairy tales, so that's all I had to hear. In this story, we have a curse, we have demons, we have all kind of stuff going on. It is a young adult fantasy novel. This one also has some LGBT representation. Soraya is cursed, I believe. And so because of this curse, she lives apart from her family. And she's trying to decide whether she should venture out to attend her brother's wedding. It seems like in this story, Soraya is going to make some mistakes and some difficult choices that leads to other consequences. And I can't wait to see what type of adventure she's going to go on. There is a demon down in the dungeon that claims to have all the answers that she needs, and I'm interested to see where this is gonna go. I think she is going to struggle with her self-identity, about what type of person she is. Is she a princess or a monster? The next book is The Year of the Witching. This book is by Alexis Henderson, and it is a fantasy horror. This next book is one that is definitely, I mean, I'm interested in all of these, but some I am more interested in and more excited about. And this is definitely one of them. And that is The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. This is a horror thriller. And I love the concept of this one. So we have 4 American Indian men who are basically being stalked by this entity. And it has a lot to do with their culture, background that they left behind. And listen, it sounds fucking amazing. It sounds like a new and interesting concept, an idea that I have not heard before. I am here for it. The type of horror in this book has been compared to Paul Tremblay's type of writing style, and Paul Tremblay is one of my favorite horror authors. So sign me up. Where can I get this book? I mean, I need to read this book. The next book I want to talk about is also a horror book. I mean, can you tell I love horror? And that is Burn Our Bodies Down by Rory Power. So Margot is desperate for some sense of family. All she's ever known is her mother. It's just her and her mother. And so she finds a clue to her mother's past, and she leaves to go seek some type of knowledge about where she came from. But she's going to get more than she bargained for. And that's where all the mystery and horror and thrill comes in. And I can't wait for it. These covers are gorgeous. What people who are doing these covers, y'all knocking it out the park. The next book is Opium and Abstinence. If you notice, sometimes I talk with a lisp. So sometimes my words don't sound the way I want them to come out. But absinthe. Why I can't say this word? Absinthe.
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 Absinthe. Absinthe. Opium and absinthe. Oh my God. This is a historical fiction mystery novel. In this story, we have a woman named Tilly who is trying to discover the truth behind her sister's death. I think there are vampires involved in this story. And if you know me, you know I love vampires. You know, I saw the word vampire and I was there. I was on board for that. The next book is a historical fiction. It is titled The Pull of the Stars, and it is written by Emma Donoghue. I think this is the same woman who wrote Room. Yes. So when I saw that it was the same author as the person who wrote Room, I added it to my TBR because I love that book, Room. It is one of my favorite books. I need to do a video about all of my favorite books. Because even though sometimes I rate books 5 stars, they're not necessarily my favorites. My favorites are the books that stick with me throughout the years. The ones that still have an emotional impact on me. The ones that I could still reread and still be emotionally affected by them. The ones that I never forget, I can still remember details from. Those are my favorites. And Room is one of them. Now, I know some people have problems with the book because they didn't like that it was written from a child's point of view. I didn't have that problem. I absolutely fucking adored the book. I loved it. I mean, how could you adore a story that surrounds that topic? But I did because the writing was so wonderful. But anyway, it's by Emma Donoghue, and so that's all I really had to see, and that's the reason why it's on this list. In this book, interestingly enough, there is a flu pandemic occurring. Wouldn't you know it? And so these women are quarantined together, and they are going to affect one another's lives and change one another's lives and learn so much about one another. And I think it is going to be beautiful. Trigger warning for people who are struggling during this time. This is probably not the greatest of books to pick up at the moment because it is very much similar to what we are all facing here today. I can't talk. The next book I want to talk to you about is Mallory. This is the sequel to Bird Box. If you don't know, Bird Box is a horror. Why does it sound so funny when I say that word? Horror? Yeah, horror. It's a science fiction horror. And it was also made into a movie on Netflix. Part 2 follows one of the lead characters from Part 1, who is Mallory. The next book release I want to talk to you about is Survivor Song by Paul Tremblay. And this book is about a rabies type infection that is taking over society. Of course, it is a horror thriller novel as well. Paul Tremblay, I'm starting to really fall in love with his writing. He's become one of my favorite new horror authors. The next one is Unconquerable Sun. This is book 1 in the Sun Chronicles. It is a science fiction novel. It has some LGBT representation. It has been described as a space opera. This next one sounds so good. It's another one that's like high up on the list as far as my excitement level goes. And that is Ghostwood Song by Erica Waters. This is a fantasy... This is a young adult fantasy story. Also, it has some LGBT representation. So our main character, Shady Grove, has inherited her father's abilities to call ghosts from the dead by playing an instrument. So he plays this instrument and he can call out to dead people. Her brother is going to be accused of murder. And so now she feels like she needs to play this music to talk to the dead in order to clear her brother's name. Tell me that is not original. Like, what? I want them to make this into a movie. It sounds so original and so fresh and so new. Oh my God, I forgot to put my fucking microphone in. Are you fucking kidding me? We have yet another horror book, and that is Wonderland. In the blurb, it says, if Shirley Jackson wrote The Shining. Stephen King is another one of my favorite horror authors. So, anything that is compared to his work, I want to read it. It seems like there are going to be some paranormal forces at work here. Excellent. The next book is titled It Is Wood, It Is Stone by Gabriella Burnham. It is a fiction contemporary adult novel. This one seems like it is going to hit on a lot of important topics, including sex and class. This Is My America by Kim Johnson is also another hard-hitting book that is going to touch on a lot of topics, a lot of sensitive topics, a lot of things that are very much relevant to what's going on in the world right now as far as Black lives are concerned. In this story, a young teenage girl, Tracy, is trying to help her father get off of death row. He's apparently in prison for a crime that he did not commit, and he is set to be executed any day now. And while she's fighting for her father's freedom, her brother has just been accused of killing a white girl. So now she's fighting and struggling to try and help both of the young Black men in her life. This book is probably a little bit too realistic. It is right on time as far as the current climate of things are concerned, just because things are trending right now. But if this book was written 20 years ago, it'd still be right on time because things have not changed. Black people are still being incarcerated at a higher rate than other races. Our Black men are still being targeted and becoming victims of police brutality, and Black people in general have had to deal with extreme racism and systemic racism and discrimination in almost in all areas of life, continuously year after year. So this book is right on time today. It was right on time yesterday. It was right on time 20 years ago. It was right on time 50 years ago. And that's a problem. So there is going to be much to discuss about this book after reading it. It's one of those call to action books. It's not one that I'm excited to read because of the heavy subject matter, but it is one that needs to be read, should be read by everyone, and discussed Bye, everyone. The next book, The Patient, is a horror thriller book. I don't know much about this story. I just heard it compared to Paul Tremblay's The Cabin at the End of the World, and Stephen King was mentioned in the blurb as well, and so that's why it's on this list. The next book is titled Snowflakes by Ruth Ware. She is a very popular thriller writer. This book is part of the Hush collection. Okay, so the next book is Den of Vipers by K.A. Knight. It has trigger warnings on here that this is a dark book. It has scenes and references of abuse and assault, violence. It's supposed to be a contemporary adult fiction erotica book. The next book is another exciting book that will just be flying off the shelves, and that is Transcendent Kingdom by Ya Jessie. I hope I'm saying her name right. From the author's mouth herself, this book is going to be a great book for discussions, and there will be lots to dissect in this novel. It is a contemporary fiction book. This book is going to travel down many different avenues as it covers addiction and faith and education and science and grief. And I just think it's going to be so phenomenal. Also, I do apologize if the dates are off on some of these. I was getting different publication dates when I was doing the research for this video, so I do apologize if some of these books might have came out at a different time. I compiled this list to the best of my knowledge. The next one is Hurry Home by Roz Ney. This is a thriller, mystery, suspense novel. The next book is Evercurse. This is a young adult fantasy novel. Fly Away by Kathleen Jennings is a horror fantasy. A Peculiar Peril by Jeff Vandermeer is a young adult horror fantasy novel. It's actually part of a duology, and this is the first book in the duology. The next book is The Daughters of Foxcult Manor by Eve Chase. This is a historical fiction mystery novel. And the last July book release that I want to talk to you about is titled The Truth Hurts by Rebecca Reed. This is a thriller mystery. In this book, this young woman is, has fallen head over heels for this guy. She's so thrilled with her new husband, but he has one rule that they cannot talk about their past. So there will be some things discovered, but her husband may not be the only one keeping secrets, and he may not be the only one willing to go to extreme lengths to keep the past buried. This one sounds like a domestic thriller. I love those. Reading about people's relationships just falling apart. Yes! So I'm not sure how long this video is going to be. If it's too long, I will break it up into sections where I have a separate video for July, August, and September book releases. Now on to the August book releases that I want to talk about. Okay, so what do you know? I have on a different outfit. First book for August that I want to talk to you about as far as August book releases go is